Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about the Q7 quadcopter, also known as the FY326 mini quad for beginners and advanced flyers alike. Now this is basically a direct replica of the SYMA X5C, which is a great beginner quadcopter. And what the Q7 does is it steps it up a notch in certain areas, and also there are a few cons to it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go over all those with you today. We're going to take it out in the field for some flights, and we're going to talk about some upgrades, and also at the end just go ahead and give it an overall pros and cons decision on how great it is. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the actual build quality. So the actual build of it is pretty identical to the X5C. What I did notice is it's a little bit more flexible. So if you do crash, the plastic is a little bit less brittle. I've actually taken it up about 50 feet and lost range, and it actually fell down onto asphalt upside down, and there was no damage whatsoever. So I think it's a really durable little quad, and you'll be happy with the durability of it, first of all. Secondly, it seems like all the parts in it are directly compatible to the SYMA X5C, so if you do have trouble finding parts or have an X5C with parts for this one as well, you can interchange the parts fairly easily. All the propellers are pretty much the same, the motors are the same size motors, and all the rest of the body parts are the same, so you won't have any problems with that. Also talking about, let's see, okay, a couple of the differences. What I first noticed is this is the review model I got is a model without any camera, so it's just the plain Jane flying quad with no camera capabilities, which is fine. It's, you know, great for starting, because when you first want to start flying, you want to really just get the handle on how to fly a quadcopter, and it's fine without a camera. It also lightens it up and gives you a few more minutes of flight time without a camera as well, so I don't have a problem with that. You could always add on a camera later if you want. Just strap one to the bottom here. There are a couple mounts. There's a clip mount here and a couple of screws on the bottom of the battery door, so you could put some kind of camera on there. What this model doesn't have is it doesn't have a camera plug-in input, so you wouldn't be able to get a SYMA X5C camera and power it off of this quad. You'd have to do something else, like maybe strap a 808 camera to it, or a Mobius or something like that to the bottom, so you could take some footage. But this is the model without the camera, so you know, no big deal. There's one more negative thing. It was just there's no on-off switch on this model. So right when you plug the plug in with your battery, it's going to power the quad on, and then you'd have to close the battery door and start to fly. So that's just the only other con I have on this one, is there's no on-off switch. You've just got to unplug it and plug it in. Everything else, actually, okay, let's talk about the pros now. So the pros, they give you a 600 milliamp battery, which was actually 100 more milliamps than the battery I got with the X5C, which was a 500 milliamp. And the cool thing is these batteries are interchangeable, so you can go ahead and use the same battery for, you know, the same quadcopters, the X5C or the Q7. They have the same plugs. What I would recommend is getting something like this. I'll have the link in the description of where to get this one. This is I'm really happy with this battery. It's an aftermarket battery. It's 750 mAh, and it's about the biggest you can squeeze into these X5C replicas, and the Q7 is no different. It fits in perfectly, it plugs in, works, and the flight time on this is exceptional. So speaking of flight time, let's go ahead and go through the flight times of each battery. So my SYMA X5C 500 milliamp battery actually got me 7.5 minutes on this quad. That's outdoor aggressive flying, flips and all that stuff. So with the 500 milliamp battery, I got 7.5 minutes. With the battery that came with it, which is a 600 milliamp battery, same kind of flying, outdoor, aggressive, it was 8.5 minutes. and that's a 600 milliamp battery that it came with, so really impressive. And then this is the one I'll have links in the description, the 750 milliamp battery, the Nanotech by Turnigy. This one gave me 11 minutes of aggressive flying outdoors, and really 11 minutes, really, you know, that's a lot of time to do all the tricks you want to do, and it just gives you a lot of fun flight time instead of having to swap out the battery. So I'd really recommend picking up a few of these. I'll have the links in the description, and you can pick up a few of those if you want. And also it has the same type of connector that comes with it. It also has, there's two different versions. There's a version that has this JST connector, and there's a version that doesn't. And the version that does, it's just, you know, it's a couple more grams of weight, but I like the capability of charging through the JST connector if you want to, so I just left it on. Okay, so everything that comes in the box, basically this is the controller. It's kind of like a game stick looking controller. I'm going to go through the flight modes. It's got a few different types of flight modes. The throttle, of course, is the left stick. This is your throttle up. This is your yaw, left and right. These are your trim buttons here on the left and right of the throttle. And then this, of course, is your pitch forward and back, and your roll left, roll right. And these are your trim buttons here. To change your pitch modes, which is a really easy beginner mode, which when you turn the quadcopter on, you'll start with that mode. If you want a more aggressive flyer, click in this left thumbstick button once and you'll hear 2 beeps, and that'll get you into the high rate mode, which allows it to pitch a little more for more aggressive flying, or if there's more wind and you need to fight the wind. And it also has a flip mode, and that way you activate the flip mode is just by pressing in your right thumbstick button once. It'll start to beep, and then once you push in any direction, it'll flip in that direction. So click in once, you'll hear beeping constantly. Once you go ahead and, like, for example, go right, it'll just do a right flip. And what I do like about this one compared to the X5C is when you do the flip, it goes ahead and throttles up so it can compensate for the drop in the flip afterwards. The X5C doesn't really do that, at least the one I have here. So when you do the flip, you've got to be hovering a little higher. You'll flip and then it will drop a little lower. But this one compensates for that with a boost of throttle automatically, so your quad will kind of stay level after the flip. Another thing I liked about this one more than the X5C is the second high rate mode for higher pitch and roll is actually more aggressive than the X5C, which will actually give you way more capability to fight wind, and it just makes it all around more fun flyer once you get kind of used to the controls. So the stuff you get in the box, you get these 4 prop guards, always good for beginners. Put those on if you're just starting out, and so if you're in the house and crashing, you don't damage the blades or hurt people or damage other things. You get this little screwdriver to change blades and stuff. You get your landing gear. You probably want to put this on when you're starting out, so just in case you do have some drops out of the sky or bumps or accidents, this will help protect you and whatever you're crashing on, or the quadcopter and whatever you're crashing on. They also give you only 2 spare propellers, so little bit of a disappointment, but this quad is so cheap to begin with. I mean, it's only like $30. Not such a big deal, but just to let you know, they only gave 2 in my package. Usually there's about 4, but no big deal. They're super cheap. And then of course you also get the charger. I would recommend, if you're going to be getting into RC in general, RC flight, or just RC vehicles in general, get a better charger. I'll have a link in the description of a good smart charger that'll maintain your batteries a lot better, and also it'll charge all kinds of different types of batteries instead of just a single battery that this can charge specifically for this quad. And these things really don't do a good job at keeping your batteries maintained. They will kill your batteries a lot faster than a good smart charger. So I'll have that link in the description as well. And of course, just the manual, just your basic kind of generic quadcopter manual going through all the flight modes that this quad can do. So one of the things I was also a little bit unimpressed with, and the same goes for the SYMA X5C, was the range on the stock controller and quadcopter. I was at the park flying, and really I was only getting about 100 to 150 feet of range until the quad would just kind of drop out of the sky. So kind of unimpressed with that, but that's usually the case with these types of stock controllers. And there are a few mods you can do. You can open these up, and you can actually put a 2.4 gigahertz router antenna in place of the small antenna that comes in the controller, and that will massively increase your range. So I've done that with a few of my other quads. I've done it with the SYMA X5C controller, and also I have a JJRC H8C mini quad I've also done it on, and it just drastically improves the range, double if not triple your range. So I'll probably do another video on how to do that mod with this controller, so stay tuned for that. That will give you way more range, and you won't be losing connection and possibly your quad if you've got more range. So stay tuned for that video. Let's go ahead and do some flights and come back with some final thoughts. flight time with this Q7 quad. I'm really liking it. I would actually like to fly this actually more than the X5C, the SYMA X5C. It's probably the case because this has come out just recently, and I think they've improved on the X5C a little bit. Some of the improvements would be the better high rate of pitch and roll for it to go faster and fight the wind a little better. So that gives you more fun once you start learning how to fly a quad. Another thing is the construction. I like that they've made this one has plastic that it just doesn't seem like it'll crack. It'll just bend before it cracks, and that's really good in a beginner's quadcopter because you're going to be falling out of the sky a lot, crashing a lot. It also seems I've done about 10 to 15 flights, and it seems like these motors are fine. They're holding up great. I don't see any problems with them failing anytime soon. I would recommend once you get good, just fly it without this landing gear. These landing gear, anything you add to the quad will decrease your flight time. It'll be harder for the quad to fly, and also it'll be more wind resistance when you're in the air for flying. So I'd recommend once you get a little better, take off your prop guards. You know, take these guys off because this will create a lot of wind resistance and a little bit more weight. It'll lessen your flight time. Take your landing gear off. The quad already has these little feet that actually prevent the quad from actually touching the ground. As you can see here, they protrude out from the motor, and they're really durable. So I would recommend just going ahead and taking off the landing gear and just using these ones that come with it, and it'll keep it up off the ground nicely. So the only things I don't like about this in closing is there is no on-off switch. It's just like a blank hole where the on-off switch is. That would have been nice for them to include that. But again, this is basically a $30 quad, so they had to save money somewhere, I guess, to give it to you for that cheap. What I do like about it, and also what the X5C has as well, is you don't have to take off the entire top of the body to change the motors out. If you do have a motor fail, you can go ahead and just unscrew these two screws here, and this whole top section just pops off. Take the propeller off, take this top section off, and you can go ahead and change out the motor. These are not prone to motor failure, you know, for many flights, so you won't have to be doing that for a long time. But it is a nice feature to be able to just take off a section to change out one motor at a time. A lot less work, which is nice because a lot of quadcopters don't have that capability. But overall, it also has a nice, if you've seen it, you might not have seen it in the flight, but it has a nice flashing LED light on top that's a little different than the X5 and makes it kind of more fun at night for night flying. But overall, I would actually like to fly this more than the X5C. So I don't know if you want to call this a comparison between the two, but if I was to choose, I would actually choose this one to fly. It's just more fun, seems more durable, seems like it'll last longer, and the couple of shortcomings aren't really even worth including in the decision to buy it or not. It's just an overall great quadcopter. So I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up for this one, and I'm going to have a link in the description of where you can buy this from GearBest. They actually gave me this demo copy, and I will put in a coupon code where you can save actually more money on this guy for super cheap. Lots of fun, and I hope you like the review. Stay tuned for more videos, subscribe and like, and see you next time. Thanks.